Nearly every state on Earth is in debt today. The debt of the United States has surpassed $38 trillion, the highest level in its history. The European Union carries close to $14 trillion, while Japan's debt approaches $9 trillion. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia or export powerhouses like Germany and China hold substantial debt burdens. This picture inevitably raises a single question. If everyone is in debt, who is the creditor? Debt is not merely a burden, it is the supporting framework of the modern world. Wars, crises, rises, and collapses have all unfolded atop this invisible web of debt. And when the chain of creditors is traced far enough back, an unsettling truth emerges. The world is not indebted to a specific power. The world is indebted to itself. But this does not mean that everyone benefits equally from this arrangement. Today, total global debt has exceeded $315 trillion. This figure is roughly 3 times the size of the global economy. To understand how we arrived here, we must return to the point where modern finance was born. The idea of national debt emerged long before credit cards or digital transfers, and it did not originate in trading halls, but on battlefields. In 1694, England was at war with France, and its treasury was depleted. The king turned to merchants for financial support. In return, he promised regular interest payments secured by future tax revenues. To manage this new system, the Bank of England was established. This was a radical transformation. The state could now spend money it did not yet possess. Lenders, in turn, received something extraordinarily valuable, the word of the state, a promise that could be bought, sold, and transferred. This was the birth of the government bond, the foundation of the modern financial system. France adopted the model. The Netherlands refined it. The newly independent United States embraced it to finance its revolution and westward expansion. National debt was no longer a sign of weakness, but a measure of credibility. The ability to borrow became proof of the ability to govern. Empires once conquered land to extract gold. Now they issue bonds to collect interest. The battlefield became a balance sheet. Fast forward 3 centuries. Debt has become the world's largest export. The United States owes $38 trillion. Japan's debt exceeds $9 trillion, and global debt grows by roughly $1 trillion every 100 days. Everyone is a debtor. Banks are creditors. Citizens are simultaneously both, through taxes, savings, and pension funds. So who holds the rope? Let us begin with the United States, because its debt is not merely national, it is global. Roughly half of the $38 trillion consists of publicly held debt, meaning obligations owed not to internal government entities, but to investors. About 2/3 of these investors are American: banks, pension funds, investment funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve. The remaining third, around $9 trillion, is held by foreign investors. Japan is the largest foreign creditor. China follows. Then come the United Kingdom, Luxembourg, and Belgium. So when it is said that the U.S. owes China, this is partly true, but it represents only a small fraction of the total. Most of America's debt is owed to America itself. The Treasury issues bonds. Financial institutions buy them. The Fed purchases them back and creates new dollars in return. Citizens pay taxes. Those taxes flow back as interest to pension funds. This is a closed reflection loop. The debt is real, but the creditor is largely a mirror of the same system. This structure is not unique to the United States. Japan lends to the U.S. The U.S., through the IMF, lends to Europe. Europe, via the World Bank, lends to developing countries. Those countries, in turn, invest their foreign reserves in Western bonds, feeding the system back. This is a global game of hot potato. But the potato is not physical. It is made of promises. Everyone holds someone else's note. Every promise is secured by another promise. Everyone at the table borrowed their chips from the person next to them. And the single rule keeping the game alive is this: no one leaves the table. Yet there is a deeper layer, the most powerful one: the markets. Behind every government bond stand hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and central banks. They are the true arbiters of credit. They decide which countries can borrow cheaply and which must pay high interest simply to survive. Democracy chooses who governs. Markets choose who survives. And the most critical actors in this system are central banks. Central banks do not merely manage debt, they create it. When they buy bonds, they create new money in exchange. One balance sheet's liability becomes another's asset. Every unit of currency in circulation reflects a debt somewhere else. There is no such thing as debt-free money. This system has stood for decades on trust. As long as investors believe states will at least pay the interest, the machine continues to run. But what happens when trust breaks? We saw it in Greece in 2010. Debt became unsustainable. Bondholders panicked. Interest rates exploded. The ECB and IMF stepped in. But the cost of rescue was severe: tax hikes, spending cuts, unemployment. For an entire generation, rescue meant sacrifice. Argentina defaulted repeatedly. In Sri Lanka, foreign currency ran out, followed by fuel shortages and political collapse. When the system breaks, creditors become visible. The IMF, credit rating agencies, anonymous bondholders. Yet even after collapse, the same logic returns. New debts replace old ones. The machine restarts. Because in the modern world, debt is not designed to be repaid. It is designed to be rolled over. States do not plan to eliminate their debt entirely. This is not a conspiracy. It is policy. Individuals pay off debt. States refinance it. Interest is the real product. It is the rent paid for stability. The United States will never fully eliminate its debt. Japan has rolled its debt for decades, with a debt-to-GDP ratio exceeding 250%. Yet interest rates remain low. Because investors do not want their money back, they want the contract to continue. Government debt is not a burden. It is global collateral. U.S. Treasuries are among the world's safest assets. If the United States were to fully repay its debt, the global system would shudder. The money supply would contract, deflation would set in, and the system would freeze. That is why debt is not paid off. It is maintained. And political promises to eliminate the debt are illusions. The goal is not to destroy debt, but to keep it believable. Because the moment belief disappears, numbers lose all meaning. And the final truth is this: the debt is owed to ourselves is only a half-truth. Interest payments are not distributed evenly. They flow upward, from taxpayers to those who hold the debt. Debt is not a transfer between countries, but between classes. And at the very top, there is no single face to blame. This system is all of us. Debt once meant bondage. Today it means balance. But if that balance breaks, debt reminds us what it truly is: a promise that can never be carried forever.